Spring, full dark seeds to burst with abandon, etch me in fern fronds of opaline frost, quicken the riddle of first light birdsong, velvet me, naive, in swan's neck time moss. That is the beginning of the poem, A Study of Anguish from And I Will Make of You a Vowel Sound by Morag Anderson, the latest chapbook from this author, as published by Fly on the Wall Press, and I was sent this book in exchange for an honest review. And honestly, I adored it, and I want more poetry from this poet. There were poems in here that were somewhat relatable. There were poems that I really enjoyed because of the way that the sounds worked together. It's something that I talk about a lot when I'm reviewing poetry, is how I like to see the way in which the sounds work. That assonance, the consonants, alliteration, anything, any one of those words that we were taught in English literature back in our GCSE days. I come to poetry to look at the language and see how the poet has created images upon the page. More than that, what they haven't said. And with Morag Anderson, we are dealing with a very skilled poet indeed. Each poem in this collection was one that I immediately wanted to share. There is a poem in here entitled Mandy at Number 9. When I read that, I found myself relating to this character as somebody who has lived the entirety of their life in council housing. I know the sorts of communities in which we live. I have seen the children and have been one of the children whose parents struggle for money or to make ends meet. I was the child who lived in hand-me-downs until age 16. It's one of the reasons that I have never had an issue with charity shops. When I read Mandy at Number 9, I found myself reminded of specific people, specific children that I had known as a child. And I like the fact that Morag Anderson, through that poem, caused this evocation of a memory, and a very specific person that I'm now thinking of, who I can remember having exceptionally long hair all the way down her back, and her mother just shaving her head one night because she'd arrived home with head lice, and the difficulty that girl then had at school when she experienced bullying from the other children. It was almost as though that was her lot, because she was lower class, and this is what you have to expect when you're from certain class, is the bullying. And I veered away from the poem entirely, but I think that that just goes to show the fact that there is a strength in these poems that with any good poet, they are going to, well, with any good writer, they're going to say something that will evoke a memory for you, or will evoke a feeling, or you'll be able to sympathise or empathise with it. And Morag Anderson has done that incredibly well here. But it's not just about the images that the author creates. The poet is simply fantastic on a craft level. And once again, I found myself in awe at the poems here. It was just the sort of poetry that I liked. And sometimes that cannot be explained. Sometimes I just read something and I think that's incredible. I wish I had a full collection by this poet. When I'm eventually buying books again, I intend to purchase one of Morag Anderson's collections. Through the words, felt as though I had found something of a kindred spirit, someone whose poems just aligned with what I liked and what I like in poetry. I liked that a lot of these poems did focus on people who live on the sidelines of society, or who a lot of people will have their own derogatory opinions of, and I like that Anderson shone a light on them and gave them a voice within her pages, but also did it in such a fantastically poetical way. I adored Anderson's voice. Her poetic voice is astounding and spoke to me on a craft level, on this level as a writer, and also on a personal level where I found myself thinking about my own lived experiences, and I'm incredibly grateful to Morag Anderson for that, and I do look forward to reading her work in future. So once again, thank you to Isabel Kenyon of Fly on the Wall Press for sending this pamphlet to me to review. It was certainly a perfect pairing, and I very much enjoyed the time spent with this one. And that was And I Will Make of You a Vowel Sound by Morag Anderson. Really impressed. That's how I'll leave things. An astounding collection. If you've read this collection and would like to discuss it, then please feel free to do so in the comments. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, because until next time, that is all.